Side note, we got to be careful when we like learn something new, that goes against what we thought it was. It's not always a Mandela effect. Although there is like, I have hundreds. I'm at the point now where I'm back to reality, at least on the surface. Like I'm still in my head looking through that same lens, but definitely less because again, we are what we eat. I've been trying to trick myself into being present here now for this reality with this background process going on where I realize that it's a lot more cool than we think. I had always begged for something supernatural to happen. When I say begged, what I'm talking about is just like, boy, would I like it if this were happening, something supernatural, and all this stuff. And now I'm kind of taking a backseat to that because I got what I wished for, which when I found the Mandela effect, for some reason it like opened up Pandora's box in my experiential timeline for a good couple months. Where I was experiencing some supernatural stuff. And I don't have to go too heavily into that, but it was like I was a guy who experienced nothing, even on like some minimal drugs, to somebody who was, when sober, seeing shit which defies common. So I just drove past a really fucked up dead deer. And God, that thing got run over and over again. I think a lot of times people assume that innocence is dangerous. That's not what I wanted to say. That when it comes to the good versus evil, at least from the Christian perspective, this is, I think, what sometimes is generally thought of to believe. The concept of victim is a very loaded concept. And very and victim both start with the same letter V. And that's a funny coincidence. It's really kind of just silly, that comment there. But I'm sort of just getting over the fact that deer was super messed up just now because it feels a bit like these sorts of conversations don't work well here. And it could be troubling sometimes. And I was getting at the Christian thing because I think that there's something mostly invested in that realm of, based on the whole thing there, that you will definitely be signing up for a shittier life in terms of this one. But next one, baby, boy howdy, is it going to pay off? Now, I'm not going to criticize any race, religion, creed, or thought view or any of that right now. Or ever. In fact, if we could all maintain that a little bit more. I mean, I'm supposed to only be talking about myself. I'm trying to not ever even be able to be perceived as that. Because, that's, we're getting to the point where we're trying to be less divisive, right? And it's really kind of cool that as much as the internet has changed up the game so much, like our pockets are this portal to this realm where there is real life effects. Like if somebody goes on, benders constantly pushing their points about really controversial things, their real life out here with their social dynamic and all that suffers. People, and then sometimes people lose jobs, and like it's not just out there, right? That's why sometimes I think, as much as Reddit is totally a controlled thing, which, by the way, is okay because you can study the censorship. Like, people who are into the Mandela effect know what I'm talking about. The main sub is, God bless them, but, there's some investment there. Not by the people running the sub, but by something somewhere to gaslight the whole thing really badly. And it's a pisser at first. I got real upset. I didn't realize until like a couple months later that literally some of them are bots, and other times there are people. There's also just trolls who think it's funny because they think people that think the Mandela effect is real are just ridiculous. And also, somebody said that there was like an Air Force base. I don't know, but for some reason it's worth censoring, just like a lot of the best stuff. And anytime I have an opposition to something off the bat, I've been trying to be like, why did I have that? Was it correctly gauged to begin with. Because if it's like a language ontology, that is, it goes in a fashion where things build upon each other, upon each other, upon each other. Just like a story. And that's even what got me to start talking to this here microphone earlier, was that also involved in the idea of there being conflicting conversations happening online, which are, I mean, there's loaded views on it. Like, some people say crazy stuff like certain people shouldn't even have the right to have their voice heard. The question is, I guess, is there sincerity and is there like logical thought behind it? But if like one type of person starts setting the rules for what's allowable, anyway, that's not even where I'm trying to go here. The point is that two sides of the proverbial coin that I think are a good representation of the polarity of ontology. And again, that's how you view the world and your place in it, I think, pretty much perceptionally. Like how you think it happened is part of that, I'm sure. Or what do you think it's made up of? Or not even exactly that, but like, how does it function? And how do you function within it, you know? Sam Harris and Jordan Peterson had these debates where Sam Harris was promoting that stories, there's a bunch of other things that's different about them. Jordan Peterson, non-atheist, Sam Harris, atheist. I'm not saying which one of them I prefer, because that's not the point. But it brings up, again, it's a good highlight of the polarity here. And again, sometimes just like the female and male energies, you know, it's like two parts of a whole, which are like one person can bring another to the table that the other one may be weakened, and vice versa. You know, like I took a philosophy of sex class in university, where, you know, like the guy goes, you know, in an argument, lady just wants you to listen, or, you know, the one who has more feminine traits in terms of their mind. Jeez, how to even divert, just to be safe, because it's, you know, people are on edge. Female wants you to hear and just listen and emotionally supportive. Male is trying to fix it. And I have always noticed since then, even now with knowing that, or thinking I know that, still trying to, when I want to support my lady, love of my life, I want to just try to be like, well, here's an option how to fix it. And then I have to be like, wait a second, just try to let her get it out, you know, because it's good to let people talk something out and not feel. But again, it's like that. I don't want to divert into this, but like sometimes good intentions, like I just want to help, but it may not be the best thing that she needs, you know. And it's like we have to know what's. Anyway, trying to stay on track here. Jordan Peterson, the importance of stories. Sam Harris, stories have been dangerous, and look at the horrible things that have been done with them. Jordan Peterson, again, these are all in a nutshell. It's a much more elaborate thing. I recommend watching all four of these long debates. They're really, really potent. Let me just say that. And even if you don't like either of them, listen. It's high-class content. When I say class, I mean it makes you feel stimulated from like a consciousness point of view, because it's not just surface-level information. And then, okay, so Jordan Peterson saying that stories have been a very strangely accurate representation, even all the way back to mythologies. And it makes people feel less isolated when they can know that maybe some sort of something that they're going through, which could be deemed as not like a label from mainstream psychology of just like, here's what you're diagnosed with, and bam, we have a one size all for that, or whatever. Not that it's that easy, but that it's more so they're having a crisis with complex management. And you know, there's so many variables that affect all things at all times. It's funny that we can assume that there's one way or another for very complex subjects. You know, even just it being between the Sam Harris and Jordan Peterson, that could be a big gaslighting thing too, to just further be like, well, it's either black or white. And to me, that's probably what all that symbolism is talking about, which is just present people, the public, the flies, you know, for the web or whatever. Not because they're trying to kill us, but because maybe it's just this is about how business works. It's about profit. I don't effing know, but like, this isn't, you know, just, oh, it just so happens to be like this. Some people don't even think that there is actually a bias or agenda within the things that have the most money here. I mean, there's going to be a profit margin based on and the catch is on us, you know? So I think I've already been talking for a long time, but like, that's something that I think is interesting, because stories are stuck in time. And how the fuck could we imagine anything without time? The now moment, which is directly connected with space, almost as a matter and antimatter. I don't even know what I mean by that, but it's like time, space, continuum. As much as I want to be on the story side, what if that story got misused, misperceived, telephoned? And then you also got the Tower of Babel reference about how language can corrupt, right? Because it's still just, at the end of the day, words. And those are trapped within our lineage of thinking, which it should, well, I shouldn't say what should be, but to me is blatantly obvious that our perception as humans is very, very much part of the whole story. That there is some objective truth that can be known, but there still is I heard somebody say something to me which totally blew me away, and I can't stop thinking about it. Just because you can justify something doesn't mean it's true. And there's so many bait concepts out there meant to just divide us. That isn't it cool? Because my channel is based on people that understand that the Mandela effect is real, and it's like, if you don't, that's fine, whatever. And maybe it doesn't need to be for everybody, but for the people who are really see it, it really profoundly affects them to see that things can change retroactively back in time, like as if our reality has been edited, and the word on the words in your book or the event that happened, every reference to it ever is different. And it's not like, oh, you're just remembering it wrong, because we're well beyond that, because it just sort of becomes an indicator. Oh, wait, that doesn't seem right. And then for me anyway, 50% of the time, well, no, I could say about 75% of the time, the memory was just an indicator, and then I find further evidence, not from just some person, but lots of people were like, this was how it was. Specifically with me, the biggest thing has been music. Hundreds of songs have changed, and it's not like there are some very small amount that are too insignificant for me to talk about, but I literally have a list of documented over 300 songs that have changed, but I'm trying to figure out how to present them, because there's further testing that needs to be done. There is, even though the scientific method has overshadowed something, like when a theory when there's some sort of test or experiment that makes a theory no longer be able to be a theory, it's supposed to no longer be a theory. But there's stuff such as the Sagnac experiment, which I'm not going to even talk about right now, but it's something that would completely throws the freaking dagger in. Why did I say dagger? That's too hostile and violent. No, but it really does. It throws wrench. Interesting about a wrench, it could be a weapon or it can fix shit, into the currently perceived notion about the ether. The Michelson-Morley is supposedly the one which proves something about motion. I still have a lot more to research about it. Physicists who have been doing it for 40 years, the internet comes around. They had never heard about the Sagnac experiment, which was, I forget done how long ago, a long time ago, like at least 50, 75, now 100 years. Never heard of the Sagnac experiment, and it throws a wrench in one of those fundamental things. For instance, there's a accepted worldwide, because now all the nations are working together with science and shit, which is great. Thanks. We can all, you think it sounds good on the surface, but what if they're all having this low common denominator of acceptable ontology for the masses? And that acceptable ontology for the masses is one which actually puts them in some proverbial perceptual chains, which maybe necessarily, and it's not the alternative is not throwing up our hands with bow and arrows in the air and being like charge at them for doing it, but realizing hey, it's just how it happened. But moving forward, here's that time thing again. Now maybe a benefit. The story can change. I think that's what I meant to say the whole time. And wow. That's what I think is so great about the Mandela effect. And that's cool. Yeah, stories change all the time. You're not stuck in your way that you are. You can change at any moment, and we just think we can't. Why am I talking about you? I'm supposed to be talking about me. I can change at any moment. The things that bother me that I do, I think I can't stop doing this. I can stop doing them. Because another thing I heard once from somebody is that somebody that is very, very great, the way they say things. These things that we decisions, hey, which Sharpie should I use to write something? I need to write something in black. If I use that Sharpie or this Sharpie, no, but choice in general. Our choices can bend the world towards heaven or hell. Here. I don't remember the things I've already talked about on this channel. I don't watch my videos again. I think I am supposed to block them out. I don't know. I do want to maintain a linear structure because if I've caught a glimpse, if I've captured your ear, that's the wrong word. You know what I'm trying to say. Then it's disrespectful to waste your time. And I've been trying to get better at not being mad about there being so much disinformation about not only everything, but specifically the Mandela effect, because it's a traumatic thing, and then you've got people really just twisting that knife because it really shows that this place, there's something that can do something to this place. The levels that the Mandela effect throws a wrench into, again, it can fix or destroy the commonly perceived reality that we live in. It can be a road to a better or worse life more than any other thing I think that you can learn if you're somebody like me. And I'm subtexting that I hate, although I'd never admit it, but here I go. I'm trying to not hate the fact that there's this bogus you've hopped dimensions thing with the Mandela effect, because it really is bad for you. And it's not me having denial. It's not only does it fit right in with the amount of censorship that I've studied, and this is the one that's promoted as acceptable, because it's like there's something here which is unlocking a bit about this place, which is just freeing to know. You know, it'd almost be like, what further evidence that we, what do I want to say? I was just going to say something like an ability, because then that's going to make it into like, we're doing this. No, you're not doing the Mandela effect. I don't understand why some people are always, I think it has to do with, here's my current opinion, and this is the opinion section. How much of you is based on you from a place of genuine conviction, even if it goes against the grain? And I'm not talking about publicly out there, but even like to yourself, you know, like sovereign will. Although that could be, that's one of the biggest fundamental debates too, is about, do we have sovereign free will, or is everything deterministic? It's both. And just like a quantum computer, you know, doesn't have to just be black and white. The discernment Olympics that we now have to practice is like, just like quantum computing, it could be yes, it could be no, it could be yes, or it could be no, yes, no, yes. It could be all the things, and you can multitask all the way. I think that the thing is that also people are thinking that this is because of quantum computing, and I don't personally agree. I don't have as strong a stance about this one, because like, again, at the end of the day, it's, you know, I'm open to, if I see not proof, but like reason behind an idea, I definitely am going to give it some time, even ones that I think are crazy. But there's ways of speaking about things which you can tell a lot about the way people say things, and you know, it's funny how something that we think is a big deal can throw off. Like the Black Mirror, the first episode is dark. It's about the Prime Minister having to like make love to a pig on TV, and I've said a few times that it's almost as if that first one is a way of sorting out the weak, because if you just cut it off after that, now I'm not saying that's cool, I'm not being like, yeah, bestiality, although now I have to be like, if you're into bestiality, cool, that's your thing, because at the end of the day, if somebody does something which is completely opposed to your set of values, oh man, that's cool, man. Go about doing, I'm not supposed to say you, is what I've determined. If I see something about somebody else which triggers me because, why, that's evil. I mean, unless it's like in the face of somebody like killing somebody, Jesus. I'm talking about just like opinions about those hot topics. I've been trying to pretend that I'm I think like they do. Because I want to know how they think. Because if we ever want to have conversations that find a place of coherence between the two, the thing is that I do believe that there is a higher set of functioning behaviorally, and that if everyone did it, and this, you could say this is the same as living as the creator intended. You know, sometimes I think, even if you want to call it a metaphor, I'm not saying if I think it's a metaphor or if I think it's literal, but the Garden of Eden with the tree of knowledge of good and evil, right? Maybe it was just prematurely, like, again, looking at the psychological significance. This is what Jordan Peterson gets at a lot, is that like these things are still relevant today in terms of what they mean outside of the actual materialistic interpretation. Like, so, you know, and I don't know if this is what he said or not. By the way, I listen to both heavily, you know, and I just hope they do more talks. Anyway, the thing is that why would the snake? So the whole big thing, I think, is that some people are like, well, that snake character there, he's a good guy. You know, he freed them from the tyranny of that monster in the sky who they may originally do. You know, and like, who wouldn't want to know good and evil? Well, what if like there's a training mode or something that was going on, right? Because there is that verse that goes like, made in our image, right? And if sometimes people have a hard time even understanding that the word Elohim means multiple deities. It's like, all right, whatever. It makes more sense. This place was made by more than one being. Good Lord. So that's not a big deal. But like, as far as, again, back to the whole what's possible here thing, thinking that there's a guy who got banned from TED because he said, Rupert Sheldrake, he said he thinks that the laws of the universe are habits and not laws. And he said a bunch of other things too, but he challenges, because science has become as constricting of a fundamental ideology as religion can also be. But neither of them have to be all the way. I'm trying to say a balance of both sides here, scientific thinking and a religious type of thinking, to find out, you know, and it goes back to, again, what I think is, you know, I have a joke that I think should be okay, right? Because, again, you gotta be careful about what you say. But it's like, yeah, but it's how you say them. Like, I don't care if you're gay. What does that have to do with me? You know, like, really affects my life no matter what. But for you, like, I just recommend for you, then just make sure one of you is the bitch. Or how should I say that? The point is, the female aspect of it, like, you know, as far as there being some sort of design characteristic within, like, well, I'm sure there's a lot of, you know, homosexual couples that are like, no, two butch ones are fine and two bitch ones aren't fine. You know what? Yeah, that's fine. That doesn't mean it has to always be that way, but I'm just trying to find a way to metaphor into what it is that makes the polarities work in unison well together rather than exploding. Kind of like a wrench. A wrench can fix shit, or it can be a blunt weapon. Well, I'm going to guess right now. 21 minutes and 13 seconds, because I'm not looking at my screen. Nope, way off. 28. My gosh, I'm telling you, I think time is increasing. All right, good night.